The prophet Ezekiel is known for having a wheel within a wheel, where each carries a different meaning. Tonight, the story of a mission called Project Ezekiel. It's the tale of two wheels and how they come together to honor 26 people who died in a Virginia plane crash 60 years ago. The story of why these men are rolling a huge metal wheel down the side of a mountain begins 60 years ago. October 30th, 1959, Piedmont Flight 349 flew into the side of remote and steep Buck's Elbow Mountain outside Crozet, killing 26 people. Rescue crews could not begin their efforts until more than 36 hours later, after the wreckage of the DC-3 was finally spotted. Phil Bradley, whose seat was ripped from the plane during the crash, was the lone survivor.
All right, let's go.
But this excursion on the 60th anniversary is about paying tribute to those who did not survive. Volunteers are returning a wheel from the landing gear to the crash site after someone rolled it off the mountain a long time ago.
So this is nothing.
Eventually, it landed in the hands of Mark Klein.
It needed to be done. I mean, it's a matter of paying respects and remembrance. These people shouldn't be forgotten.
So Klein attached the airplane wheel to the axle of a huge spool that utility companies use to carry conduit or cable. He gathered a crew, put the rig on the back of a pickup, and drove it up to the mountain and into the clouds, conditions not unlike the day of the crash itself.
Let's not get fingers pinched or any broken bones, and Lord, we know this could get kind of hairy at any point in time.
You're just going to have to see which trees you can get over. If not, we'll have to cut them.
And thus it began. Men rolling the contraption down the slope, a makeshift memorial with an uncertain outcome. They've rolled that thing over some big trees, but this rock garden may be the biggest challenge yet.
We did lose a hold of the wheel at one time, and that got a little bit hairy.
I need somebody on this side. When we got to that big tree, there was no way we were going to roll that over the tree. So we, just figured we would just put a little physics into action and just slide it over the tree, and that seemed to work.
The rocks and the dead logs, overcoming those was pretty difficult. And having
The crash site is not well marked. Bill Fawcett scouted the route a few days in advance.
We walked all over this mountain trying to find it. The coordinates we had were not good, but we finally found it. And so then I plotted the path that we used here. This is the path of least resistance, believe it or not.
On this day, in the fog, it's harder. So how far you think?
150, 200.
Yeah. Yards?
Feet.
Feet. Yeah. Got it.
All right, it's here. Good job, everybody.
My uncle was on this plane.
For Dave Wetzel, it's an emotional moment.
I'd like to thank you for putting this together. It is back.
He was a child when his uncle, Louis Sheffield, died here.
It was a very emotional, stressful time for my family, not knowing if my uncle was alive or dead. I just, think about my uncle, laying on this mountain for 36 hours.
Fred Woods was 9 when he visited the site just days after the crash.
There were women's purses that were strewn with stuff spilling out of them, and shoes. I remember there being shoes everywhere.
He takes a small souvenir, something he didn't do in 1959.
That's just something to have.
Pilot George W. Lavery.
Then they read the names of the dead.
George Wendell Hicks, flight attendant.
Louis O. Sheffield, Uncle Billy.
Dave, I think it's appropriate that you give us a hand.
The wheel is placed as close to the landing gear as possible. The names then tucked into the wreckage. The paper won't last, but the wheel is back where it belongs.
Well, you want to get things as right as you can get them. And I'm just glad we got it I'm glad we got it all the way here.
I think it's very important. It's kept in the memory of the 26 people that died alive. Another piece of history, aviation history.
and the memory will remain ever etched in the minds of the people who took part in this odyssey. A wheel within a wheel, rolled and cajoled to a crash site on the side of Buck's Elbow Mountain. That was quite a trip. The cause of the plane crash has never been fully determined, but an FAA investigation revealed that the plane was flying 8 to 11 miles off course. I should point out that we accessed the site from the top of the mountain only with the permission of the landowner.